Hey folks, how's it going? We've had a crazy 2020. It is over, it is done. Let's not talk about it ever again. This first month of 2021 has been outstanding in terms of Kickstarters as far as I'm concerned. And we're going to tell you all about it because this is our January 2021 Gotcha Backer. Hi folks, how you going? Welcome back. For those of you who don't know me, and you should by now, my name is Matt and welcome to our Gotcha Backer for January 2021. It's amazing to say that 2021, after 2020's craziness, January has gone like the clappers in terms of crowdfunding, Kickstarter and everything else as well. There is a lot to get through on this list. We have a couple of project updates we really need to talk about, along with a lot of freshly backed stuff as well. In fact, I had to limit it. Usually we have a sort of a 5 game references. January has been a crazy one in terms of some of the projects that have been launched, and I will tell you what I'm talking about a little bit later on in this video. At the same time, shipping lanes have reopened, and of course China's factories will close for Chinese New Year in February, but at the same time deliveries are coming in left, right and center, and there is a mountain of stuff to get through, so expect some amazing content in the coming weeks. Having said that though, just a few quick updates on different projects that we've got going on. There's all sorts of other bells and whistles. There's Kickstarters that have literally arrived today, some of which including Lost in Australia, which we talked about, and Lost in Valhalla, amongst a few other things, which we will talk about in just a few moments. As you can see, we've got some Kickstarters here that was received, Outsmarted was received on Christmas Eve, which was fantastic. We've played that quite a bit and expect to review. Charlotte and I are going to sit down and do a review of that one for you as well. Plenty going on, including a bit of a Valentine's Day thing coming up for February. So if you're watching this in February and wondering what the hell is going on, you need to get on board and jump on board our Patreon page, and you get these when they are released as opposed to a month after the fact. But with that said, folks, let's get into it. Let's talk about some project updates for January 2021. All right, first one I want to talk about, folks, is a classic, a reimagined classic, I should say, and its tagline is "The battle for the floor begins once more," or something of that vernacular. And it is, of course, Catapult Kingdoms, which I'm happy to say has been booked in. Its shipping should be around about February 10th, which means we'll see it hopefully first couple of weeks of March here in the great old land of Australia. Now, for those of you not familiar with Catapult Kingdoms, it is basically a reskin, re-implementation of crossbows and catapults, an absolute classic game. And instead of having just those flimsy little plastic figurines, they're fully sculpted minis. There's heaps of add-ons, other bits and pieces as well. I think we've ended up going all in and getting enough for 4 players, so you can have a full battle royale. I don't think we have played that on the tabletop. It is designed for the floor. All the special ammunition has been unlocked as well. There's not just the boulders, there's also dice ammunition, fish ammunition, go figure. There's a volcano expansion. There's, Vikings that come in and cause trouble as well. It's a crazy time. And we look forward to showing that to you when it arrives, which should hopefully be, weather permitting, shipping containers permitting, around about the first couple of weeks of March. So look out for that. And that is Catapult Kingdoms. The next game I want to talk about is something that is super exciting to us, only because we are one of the playtesters of this game. We had a print and play, and we went through all that, played through many games, including solo modes, just to sort of see how the feel was of the game, get a core sense of it, and then obviously provide our feedback and support to the creators of this masterpiece, and I don't use that term loosely. This is a light game. It's a game that will play very well with a smaller number as well as with a larger cap at 5, but it's something that is a little bit special, and I'm talking about something that's actually arrived. It is here. It has arrived very recently. I'm talking about Road to Infamy's Canvas, and you won't see a graphic because it's here. It's in our hands. So this is Canvas. And this is their box. It's designed to be a picture frame. I don't know if you can see it here, but it has a little nodule or a little hole that you can hang on the wall. There you go. So we can actually hang like an artwork, which is fantastic. This is the Kickstarter edition, so there is an expansion that's included with this as well. It is very, very quick play time. You are trying to make the best painting possible and then win awards for your artwork. The cards are plastic overlays that go over the top of each other. We cannot wait to unbox this sucker. Charlotte and I are going to sit down and do that at some point over the coming days. So if you're one of our Patreons, you will see that first. Canvas is a great little game. There is the opportunity to get it at retail down the track, but by all means, I think you can pre-order it from Road to Infamy direct at the moment, so jump on board if you want a copy. Canvas, definitely worth a look, and it's here, it's out, it's ready to play, and that's very, very exciting indeed. All right, so in one of our last updates, I think it might have been our November or maybe our December update. I'm not entirely sure which. I can't remember for the life of me. There's been a lot of games that have come across my table over the last couple of weeks. It unfortunately was in its final days of funding on Kickstarter, and unfortunately just didn't quite get there. It was very close race, but unfortunately this one didn't make it. I'm talking about Execution. Which is a great little card slinging, take that sort of game where you try and avoid being executed 3 times while making sure that your opponents rack up those execution points. Good news, though, they are going to be relaunching on Kickstarter with an absolutely manic campaign on February 5th. So if you're watching this as one of our Patreons, I definitely suggest, or one of our subscribers, that you jump on board. It's a great little game at a very cheap price point, and there is a free print and play as well, so you can try the game while you wait for the Kickstarter to conclude and arrive on your doorstep. A lot of take that action, a randomized scoring system as well, so you never can tell who's in the lead until the final siren has gone, which I love. Execution is going to come back on Kickstarter on the 5th of February, as I said. Definitely worth a look. If you're watching this in February and you've missed out, you may find that there might be 1 or 2 days left, depending on how long the campaign runs. They are hoping to achieve a larger goal. I think they're originally looking at 10 grand. They're looking at 20 grand, that is US. So they will need our bonus support to get them over the line. Definitely worth a look. Quick little playing party game, and you can combine decks as well to add more players, which I think is quite exciting. Yeah, definitely worth a look. Execution by Nomich Games. I'll be backing it when it goes live on February 5th. And by all means, if you don't want to back your copy, you can always wait until the pledge manager opens and get in touch with us, and we'll be able to supply one to you that way. And that's Execution. All right, now to a game that we have talked about a couple of times, in a couple of episodes of our Gotcha Backer series, but there is movement happening. I think the last time I talked about it, there was a little bit of potential for movement, but then everything stopped. COVID, shipping containers. The wars for shipping containers have been insane. Anyway, I was contacted after reaching out on Board Game Geek by the game's designer. For those of you who don't understand what I'm talking about, if you haven't watched the series before, I'm talking about Unbroken by Ultima Games and Golden Bell Studios. And designed by Artyom Safarov. Now, the games designer Artyom has actually reached out to me and said, look, hey, we're trying to get everyone their copies. Can you let us know the details? Can you get in touch with me? And I've responded back. So hopefully, if all goes well, we may see our copies sooner rather than later. I'm excited to get it to the table because the reports from across the board are generally very positive about the game itself and its gameplay, which is fantastic. So I'm interested to see how it plays. I want to get it to the table because I am a good solo gamer, particularly with something like Unbroken, which is obviously a bit more mature. And it's, from what I understand, quite the challenge. So that appeals to me as well. Hopefully, if all goes well, we'll get a hold of Artyom again, or he'll get a hold of us, and we'll see the copy sooner rather than later, which means the end will be in sight for that great little game. And hopefully he'll be able to keep designing games and has learned from the pitfalls of this crowdfunding nightmare that is Unbroken. Those of you who've been following along that campaign will know what I'm talking about. If you don't, by all means, jump on Board Game Geek and search for Unbroken or search for Unbroken on Google, and you will see a plethora of information that'll bring you up to speed. I'm not going to go over old ground. It was just good to know and good to hear that there is some stuff moving, and we'll hopefully see some copies here in Australia very, very soon. And our last project update for January 2021. It has been a big month. We've had stuff arriving left, right, and center. As I said, we had things arrive today. We've got stuff being shipped from across the other side of the world, shipping containers left, right, and center, loaded up with games that are coming our way, including shipments from our distributors. Now, our distribution partners for the store actually sent us an email to our Kickstarter account to say that they were sending us a package. Now, I did not realize that one of our key distribution partners, Let's Play Games, LPG, were actually kickstarting a project as well. And I didn't realize it until I saw the box arrive on the doorstep on Monday morning. So it's only a couple of days in. And the game that has arrived is one that I've been hanging out for because it has a solo mode. It can play up to 4 players and has an unprecedented replayability in terms of the different mechanics, in terms of joining different bits and pieces together to make multiple combinations, particularly with the stretch goals that were part of this campaign. What am I talking about? I am talking about this wonderful game called Galaxy Hunters. Now, you notice there's no overlay graphic, and the reason for that is because it's here, it's arrived. It's a beautifully big, wonderfully decorated box that has a lot of stuff in it. I don't know if the glare is glinting off there, but there are some crazy mech minis. And when I say minis, they're not minis, they're like, 68mm, huge constructs. The replayability of this one with the mixing and matching of pilots and mechs and abilities and things is great. Even though the combinations might be the same, the way you align them in terms of what powers you use is fantastic. We are going to be definitely unboxing this one for you, and we are going to be trying to get a playthrough of this one as well, even if it is just myself. Charlotte is super keen. She loves the style of the box. Anything that's a big box, I think she's keen on. Let's be honest. And this one's a lot deeper than I thought it was going to be. So IDW Games looks like they've done an amazing job on the production. We will let you know when all the unboxing and playthroughs go live. Very excited to see what's inside this box, and who knows, maybe we'll get that done some stage over the next coming days. But yeah, it's here, so we can tick a few things off. We've been able to tick off, some bits and pieces off our Kickstarter list. Having had super backer status for a while now, we've been able to tick off a few things and arrive, particularly because the shipping's had such massive issues of late. So it's good to finally tick a few things off that list and open up some new games and bring them to the table and to all of you as well, which is amazing. But that concludes all our project updates. Now, in terms of backing all the fresh stuff, there is a lot more that we've actually backed that I'm going to talk about now. Partly because I had to whittle down the list. There was just so many crazy campaigns over January, and there's still a few more running. There's one that I've backed today, which I didn't expect. But yes, look, very excited to share some updates with you for some great new content and great new games. So let's get into it with some freshly backed goodies. All right, freshly backed. The first one I want to talk about is, well, look, they say go hard or go home. This is a biggie, and I do mean biggie. This one is an epic boss battler, and I mean that in the vaguest sense, but at the same time, it is the most accurate description. I am talking about a deck constructing, boss battling, crazy game of card flinging combat for 1 to 4 players, and you're fighting a boss against some incredible mini sculpts, which may or may not be necessary, but they just look amazing on the table. Yes, I am talking about Primal: The Awakening. Now, this is a game where it's a sort of an asymmetric combat game, card crafting, where you build your deck, and then between battles you can actually level up your characters if you're playing campaign mode or if you're playing single event, single battle. So you take 1 of 4 heroes or warriors or whatever you want to call them, and then you select a boss and you place its mini on a board that has multiple different areas, so 4 different quadrants, and you can rotate the boss miniature, and depending on where it's facing might affect where you attack. So if you're attacking the head or if you're attacking the tail, you're trying to rack up damage to move it on to its next form. And some bosses have 3 forms, some bosses have 2. If you can complete all forms, do enough damage to defeat the monster, then you win. But I can tell you right now, every one of these battles is going to be bloody close. The game is designed to be brutal. It's designed to be not unwinnable, but it's designed to be a challenge. People have likened it to a card puzzle where you're laying down cards trying to work out the best combination, and the order you play your cards does matter, as well as the order they go into your discard pile, because at the end of each round, a card's flipped over, end of each round, end of each turn, a card's flipped over based on the beast that you're fighting, and that could potentially do extra damage to you, fatigue you, stop you from drawing cards, all sorts of crazy stuff. At its core, it is a card battling game, likening to Marvel Champions, where you have to use cards from your hand as resources. But that mechanic alone is fantastic, and it's a great implementation of it for a boss battler. It's effectively Marvel Champions, for lack of a better way of understanding how the mechanics work, with a lot more detail and a lot more depth. I think it looks like it's going to be quite the strategic battle, and you'll be shouting across the table at your co-op cohorts saying, no, don't do that now, play the green, then the blue, then the yellow, oh my god, what's wrong with you? And I think that working out the puzzle aspect when you've got too many cooks could be detrimental to the game, but it'll be interesting to see how it goes co-op with just one or two players, or even playing one player with 2 hands or 2 heroes. Primal The Awakening is currently running on Kickstarter as of this recording, and it still has about 12 days to go, so please check out the campaign. There have been some amazing unlocks happening on that one, and I look forward to getting that to the table. I believe it's slated for release sometime early next year, so it'll be a while before we see it, but at the same time, epic content, epic game, and a great way to start our freshly backed edition for this episode of Gotcha Backer. Now we'll move on to something a little bit smaller. All right, now I said onto something a little bit smaller and something a lot closer to home. Now, I'm a big supporter of Australian developers and Australian game manufacturers as well. I love Australian content, as you've said, Lost in Australia as a Melbourne-based game, Sam Milham, great games. But there are a few other things that have popped up on my radar, and I'm going to talk about one of them now. I am talking about Big Bang Burgers. Now, this is a game that is reminiscent of Exploding Kittens, but it has a little bit more to it than that, because you're actually playing cards against your rivals, but also to your own. You've got to build a burger from bun to top, or the bun crown. And once everyone's burgers are completed, you tally up points. Whoever has the most points wins. It's as simple as that, except it's not, because you might be able to play a cockroach onto someone else's burger, or even a dirty severed finger, or even an all-important explosion to blow their burger into absolute smithereens. There is even an animal-free deck of cards for this one, where you'll be able to play, if you're vegan. It's a vegan-friendly deck, I guess, for lack of a better term. There's also an Australiana expansion as well, which has things like barbecue sauce, pineapple, bacon, all sorts of a plethora of other ingredients and add-ons that you can add into your game. Simple to understand, simple play time, simple play cards to yourselves or other people's burgers, tally up the points once all the burgers are complete, and then determine a winner. It's really straightforward, and it's one of the most cost-effective games on Kickstarter that I've seen to date. $20 gets you the full game. That's it. Simple as that. Obviously, it's a shipping cost associated with that, but if you're within Australia and you back this game, your shipping cost is going to be like $10 or less. Simple as that. It's going to be so cheap. And to get a Kickstarter game before it goes to retail at that price, that's going to be fantastic and something worth looking at. It is already funded as well, so the game's complete. It's going to happen. They had set themselves a small goal of only $2,500 Australian, and they're absolutely smashing it. Absolutely smashing it. They're actually working some other stretch goals and things as we speak, and I've actually been in contact with the game's developer and creator, Sam, funnily enough. We're in talks to potentially get that to our store so we can stock this for you lovely folks who are supporting us on our YouTube channel and also on our game store too. So if you miss out on the Kickstarter campaign, you will be able to do a late pledge, but if not, if you can't wait, if you're not really sure what's going on, you want to just get it when it comes into retail, you will be able to pick one up from hpgamingau.com.au down the track, and that in itself is very exciting. Big Bang Burgers, very quick play time, very quick to easy to teach, easy to learn, easy to understand, and just a crazy lot of good fun and a quick play time. And that's one of our next project updates or freshly backed projects for January 2021. Okay. Now, this next project is something that I had seen advertised before the Kickstarter launch. I subscribed to the launch, but I wasn't 100% sure if I was going to back it or not. Partly because it's worker placement. I wasn't sure whether I was going to be able to get everyone else involved, but the beauty of the board and the components for this game, even at a base level, it's just an amazing work of art and a really good production. And the fact that I've backed now and then all these stretch goals have been unlocked since, the content for this game is just huge. As a previous backer of their projects, I've also got a few extras as well that'll be thrown in that won't be available to other backers and definitely not at retail. So I'm glad I backed it when I did. I'm glad I've upgraded to a deluxe game because it is something that's going to be quite spectacular. What game is he talking about? Matt, stop leaving us in the dark. Stop being vague. I am talking about Darwin's Journey by Thundergriff Games. This campaign they've kept in touch with all their backers. They've been really responsive to the backers' thoughts and implementations and requests for features for this one. And at the same time, they have enabled themselves to develop a game that is a true Darwin evolution of a theory of evolution experience in terms of when Charles Darwin went to the Galapagos and researched like crazy to discover and develop that theory. And it literally retracts his steps through the Galapagos and through the different species that he studied. And you were able to develop your own studies on those creatures, send that research back, gain points, etc. And ultimately, one of you will be crowned the person who most replicated Darwin's journey across the board. The fact that there is a secondary board, different player mods, many different paths to victory and lots of ways to unlock things. The gameplay itself is worker placement, but on steroids. There is so much to do. There's so many core options, like 5 different options and choices of actions you can do. But the detail and the strategy within each of those actions, I think, is going to allow this for a lot of replayability and a lot of deep thinking. Those of you who love worker placement games will be sitting there trying to think 3 or 4 moves ahead, and then someone's going to do something out of the blue that's going to completely change your strategy. And I love that about this game. I think it's reminiscent of other worker placements games, Stone Age, things like that. Someone has said it's a bit Lords of Waterdeep to some degree. I don't disagree with that, but I do think that this one is going to have a rightful space on our game shelf for quite some time. And this is going to be a game that I won't play with Charlotte, unfortunately, until she's a bit older. This is going to be more for the hardcore gamers. But it's probably not a gateway game. So I think that's something that needs to be said for that. Not a gateway game, but at the same time, those people who have played a lot of games will get a lot of fun out of this one. The campaign's still running as of this recording. So if you're watching this in February, late pledge maybe. If you're watching this in January when it goes up, then by all means have a look at the Kickstarter campaign page if you're interested. Otherwise, reach out to us and you can always ask questions of myself and we will get in touch and let you know what's going on. Darwin's Journey, Thundergriff Games, absolutely amazing. Very excited for it, and hopefully it'll get here sooner rather than later. Okay, quick one now. This game is not a new game. It is a reprint. It is a Masters or Collector's Edition of a game. I've always been intrigued by it, never owned a copy myself, and I thought, why not? It's time to jump in. And price point-wise for the deluxe, we didn't go colossal, we went deluxe. Those of you who know Kickstarter will know what I'm talking about. But I thought, there's no better time. Let's go deluxe. Let's get into it and see what this game's all about. And I'm talking about the Castles of Mad King Ludwig, the Collector's Edition. Now, it's got towers, it's got 3D mini sculpts for all sorts of it. Basically, it's a tile laying game where you lay tiles, build the castles, and score points based on what you've constructed. But it's the same game ramped up. So reprinted rules, better components, high quality swan movers that you move around the moat to score on the score track. And if you went Colossal, it's basically a game that would take up our entirety of our brand new 12-seated table. It is a huge, if you went Colossal, it's massive, it's so big, it's a ridiculous game. The box for this thing is absolutely huge. We didn't go Colossal, we went Deluxe, and I think that's going to be enough to keep all of our players entertained as we do our gaming nights. So if you don't know anything about Castles of Mad King Ludwig, please get on the Kickstarter campaign, have a look and see what you think. If you've played Castles of Mad King Ludwig and you think it's something you might be interested in, you don't own your own copy, definitely jump on board, it's worth a look. If you have played Castles of Mad King Ludwig and you're not a fan, or you've got a different opinion on a game that might be similar, by all means, please let us know in the comments below. But yeah, Castles of Mad King Ludwig, I saw it there. I asked to get notified on launch, always been curious, so I'm on board now, and please let me know what I'm in for. I'm excited to see what happens when it arrives, but by all means, if you have any questions or things, as always, let us know. But I thought I'd just slip that one in there as a little bit of something extra. All right, we are nearly there. We've got a couple more games that we need to talk about, and this one is one of my favorites on the list, hence why it's here. It is a deck builder, so you know I'm all in. Probably one of the most amazing things about this one is that for what it is, it's got a low price point, like a really low price point. I mean, most decent deck building games that have lots of cards and things, if you look at Legendary, if you look at Clank, you're talking $80, $90 Australian as a bare minimum. I mean, some of the Legendary games, like the Legendary 007, is over the $100 mark, which is crazy. But at the same time, that's just because it's upper deck, because it's Legendary, that's just what happens. Legendary Encounters, the Alien game, is up around the $110 price point. This deck builder is $45 US. That's it. $45 US, I think translates out to about $60, not even. Now for a deck builder to be an in-depth deck building experience like we're about to talk about at $60, I'm all in. That's amazing. I don't even know why you're still listening to me. Go have a look, go get yourself a copy. I am talking about the Spatial Deck Building Experience Masters of Mutanite. Now, this is a game that is a deck builder at its core, but it's not a deck builder where you have a row of cards at a market and you buy what you want. No. The deck building component is built up of your standard base cards, and you have to move your hero, who is a mutant with superpowers a la X-Men, around a three-dimensional cartoon comic-style board, and you actually acquire cards right off the board themselves. So as you play through the board, so if this is the board here, you might have a city office block, there'll be a card face down there. So you don't even know what the card is necessarily. It might be face up, might be face down, depends on the way you're playing the game. But you have to pay the resources to acquire that card, and then that will reveal a space that's marked with other abilities underneath the card. So while the space is vacant, there's extra things you can do there. The best part about this, though, is that it has this 3D comic book landscape, and your hero, as it moves from place to place, has the ability to play fling cards, where you pick up scenery and actually throw it across the board at your opponents. Yes, I do mean that literally. You can pick up cards and literally launch them across the table at your opponents to do damage. And that, for me, is awesome. I love it. It's comic booky, it's cartoony, but at the same time, the ability to pick up a barrel of flammable liquid, throw it across the room, and then ignite it with your laser beam vision, spewing little bits of fire across the city. That's amazing. So then when you move over there to pick up a card, you're going to have to take fire damage. The fact that you've got a plethora of heroes, you've got a solo mode where you can play as one hero trying to take down a plethora of others. Masters of Mutanite is a very different take on a deck building genre. And those of you who've watched the channel will know how much I love deck builders and know how much Clank means to me. It's an amazing game. But this could very well be, this has the potential to be the game that will take my #1 favorite deck building spot. And that is a big thing. Definitely worth a look. Masters of Mutanite, the spatial awareness deck building game, throwing stuff around, destroying a city, leveling city blocks as the heroes fight for control and supremacy, being able to pick up cards off the board itself rather than a market, which actually means a bit of strategy as to where you move to pick up what cards. Do you have the resources for those cards? That's fantastic. So I'm really excited to see what the finished product looks like. It has just been funded as well. There was a bit touch and go there for a while. I think there's about 8 days left in the campaign as of this recording. So please, by all means, get on board. Masters of Mutanite, definitely worth a look. If you missed the campaign because you're watching this in late Feb, by all means reach out to us. You can get in touch and get involved in our pledge manager, and we will help you acquire a copy as well. Masters of Midnight, definitely worth a look. Very excited to get that to the table when it arrives. All right, lucky last for this edition of Got You Backer for January 2021 is a game. It's actually our first. I cannot believe that we are a super backer, or I'm a super backer. We've backed all these projects on Kickstarter, and this is the first time we've ever backed a project by this creator. And I can tell you right now, if this is how they run their campaigns, it will not be the last. This is a game. Well, it's not a game. It's 3 games. It's part of a collection. Very excited for it. Those of you who know anything about Kickstarter might already have suspected what I'm talking about, what I'm backing. And I'm talking about Simon's The Animation Collection. Now, this is a series of 3 games, that 2 of which are interchangeable, that involve Warner Brothers IPs. So the thing that caught my eye about this, first and foremost, and I'm not talking about Teen Titan, I'm not talking about the Looney Tunes aspect, I'm talking about the one and the only Scooby-Dooby-Doo. There is one of the core games, it's the most expensive of them because it's got the most content, and it's the best, hands down, from what I can tell. It's a standalone game where Scooby and the gang are moving around haunted landscapes, trying to beat back the baddie and then unmask them, catching them in traps and things like that. It's very much a pandemic-style feel of a cooperative game where you're all working together to build traps and trap the monster. But the stretch goals for this campaign have allowed for additional monsters, additional villains, team-up mode where 2 villains can work together, an extra add-on pack where you can get Dick Dastardly and Muttley from Wacky Races, etc., and bring them in, which I think was done because of Scoop, the new movie that's just come out. The core elements and gameplay of this game, having watched playthroughs of this one, really excited to get it because it's a good co-op one. And the best part about it is backing the Kickstarter exclusive edition means that the little standees of the heroes and things are actually 3D painted, sculpted minis. Not just minis, they are painted minis. And that's going to be amazing. So painted minis of Scoob, Shaggy, Fred, Daphne, Velma, and the Mystery Machine, along with all those monsters, including the Creeper. There's a witch, the space guy with the skull mask from the opening intro. Oh my God, I'm so excited for this one. It's amazing. And that is just one game of the animation collection. The other 2 games are interchangeable. They're part of a new Mayhem line, which I feel has more life in it. So there's probably going to be more Mayhem products down the track, and maybe even a Mayhem Kickstarter, who knows. But Simon, cool mini or not, for those of you playing along at home, have developed a Mayhem combat system where 1 to 4 players or 2 to 4 players can battle it out. Now, this is very, very, very reminiscent of the Unmatched series of games that have come out. Very much a board game battler, whittle down your opponents to nothing and off you go. But what I like about it is that you can get the Looney Tunes core box, which has Bugs, Daffy, Elmer, and Wile E. Coyote, I think. No, not Wile E. Coyote. Elmer and... Dang. It'll be on your screen. There's also Yosemite Sam and a whole lot of other characters as well. And they're all working together to find stuff from Acme and effectively, launch each other and flip each other into oblivion and smash each other with anvils and all that sort of stuff. Great little combat battler. Again, full painted minis, which is awesome. And it's a card battling system. There's a dice that is the result of which affects everybody, not just the player. And you assign dice to your characters and you resolve them one at a time per round. But there's also a Teen Titans Go version of this, which has obviously Robin and Starfire and Beast Boy and everything else. What I like about the system is, and I mean, they wouldn't not do it. They'd be crazy not to. You can get Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck and take on Robin and Starfire from the other game. And you can mix and match them to build your own team or build your own squad and go to town. You can even play it as a team game, not just 2 and 2, but you could effectively have 4 on 4, all that sort of stuff. There's a whole plethora of mods and systems in place. An epic campaign. They only ran it for 12 days, and the unlocks for this one are just incredible. We've also backed it at a level that allows us to get our hands on an exclusive out-of-print deluxe edition of the Wacky Races board game. Now, for those of you who are lovers of Hanna-Barbera from back in the day, and I do mean back in the day, you will remember Wacky Races where Dick Dastardly would lay traps and cause trouble. Captain Caveman was involved, or the Sluggo brothers, I should say. All sorts of different minis based on the different sculptures of the Wacky Races themselves. Very quick playtime, but a lot of fun. So we're getting that one. And that also has the Dick Dastardly minis for the other games, which you can use in Mayhem, but also in the Scooby-Doo game as a team-up villain system that you will have to defeat as well. The animation collection from CMON is going to be amazing. It's already quite spectacular. Looking forward to getting that out. It won't be around probably till about February 2022. It's going to take a good while to reach the table and be developed, but when it arrives, you will be the first to know. Very excited to be able to share that one with you. Now, let's get into it. We've talked about a few different games. We've talked about more than we expected to talk about. So that about wraps it up. Let's get into the final wrap up of this episode. There it is. We've talked about all the games. We've talked about the updates. We've talked about some amazing new games that are coming out on the market. And obviously, for those of you who know CMON, you know that the animation collection is going to be spectacular. So we're looking forward to that. A little bit of an update for you. They're also looking at doing a Masters of the Universe board game. They have acquired the rights to that IP. So check out that when it launches on Kickstarter at some point, and we'll bring you updates as we know more. As always, folks, if you are, as I said at the outset, watching this in February and wondering why Matt's talking about January, it's because you are not one of our subscribers. Our subscribers get exclusive access to the content on our channel before it goes for general public consumption. So if you're watching this in February and you want to know more, you can jump on board our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/hpgamingau. The address is on your screen, and you have to subscribe to us. If you are within Australia, you get upgrades to express shipping on all your orders from our store, as well as access to our Kickstarter and GameFound Pledge Manager, which means you can get your hand on goodies well before everyone else, which is very exciting. Other than that, folks, if you have questions about anything you see here, you can always reach out to us at orders@hpgaming.com.au. You can also hit us up on the website www.hpgaming.com.au, and there's a plethora of goodies there as well, including, as I mentioned at the outset, a bit of a Valentine's Day promotion coming up. So by all means, check that one out too. If you have any questions, folks, by all means, pop them in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button and that little bell so you can hear us out and see us whenever we post a new video or some new content. As I said, looking forward to bringing you some great unboxings and other playthroughs down the track. Hopefully Charlotte will not keep beating me by just 1 point, as she so often does. But look, until then, folks, look after each other, stay safe. If you're watching from the other side of the world, please look after yourselves and each other as well, and play lots and lots and lots of games. Until then, folks, we'll see you back at the table very, very soon. However, it's time to say bye for now.